Hello witches, wizards, and those who are yet to receive their Hogwarts school letters, welcome to my Harry Potter kitchen. This is a YouTube series where I'm baking my way through the Harry Potter books, making recipes for all of the food and drink that we find inside. If you missed the last week's recipe where we created a Skele-Gro potion that really is good for your bones, then make sure you check out the link down below in the description to catch up. And if you're new to the kitchen and you want to see some more Harry Potter recipes, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so you'll get an alert every Magic Monday when there's a brand new recipe. Speaking of which, let's head back into the chamber. Okay, so let's head back into chapter 10, The Rogue Bludger, to see what's next. So now Harry has to stay in the hospital wing while his bones mend, and I can see some references to cakes, sweets, and pumpkin juice, which we've made already this series, so check out the playlist down below if you missed any of those. Then overnight he gets a visit from Dobby, the house elf, who confesses the bludger was him as a warning. Harry obviously not impressed, so they're having a bit of an argument, and they hear some noises as Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall are coming in with Colin Creevey, who has also now been petrified, and I can see our next recipe here. There was a bunch of grapes next to him, said Professor McGonagall. We think he was trying to sneak up here to visit Potter. I mean, if he made that much effort just to bring us some grapes, we might as well use them. If you'd like to recreate this lightning bolt grape tart, then all of the ingredients, measurements and instructions are up on my website, bradleybakes.co.uk. The link is down below in the description. So this week we have the challenge of using a bunch of grapes in our recipe. First I thought maybe we'd do a grape ice cream, then I thought maybe we'd disguise a cake as grapes. We've done a few of those in this series already. Reading through the books we find out that Colin is on the way to the hospital wing to give these to Harry and make him feel better. So I wanted to create a dessert that will always make me feel better, and that's a homemade fruit tart. So today I'm going to walk you through the process of how to make sweet shortcrust pastry. We're going to fill this with a grape jam, a diplomat cream, which I'll tell you more about in a second. Then we're going to top it off with some honey roasted grapes with maple syrup and cinnamon. This is going to be one of the best tasting tarts you've ever tried. Grapes are a bit unusual to find in a dessert, but trust me, once you've seen it, I'm sure you want to give it a go. Okay, first up we need to make our pastry, so this is what you need to do. Making sweet shortcrust pastry is really easy. All I'm going to do is add my flour into my bowl with a pinch of salt, stir that through, and then add some room temperature butter. Work this with your fingers until it forms breadcrumbs, and then add in some icing sugar. Stir this through and make a well in the middle. I'm then going to add in my egg yolk and water, and then use a knife to mix this together until it forms into a ball. The important step with pastry is not to overwork it, as if you stretch the gluten too much, it will become tough. So once it's bound together, you want to wrap it in cling film and then pop that into the fridge to rest for about 15 minutes. Once the pastry has had a chance to rest, you can take it out of the fridge, lightly flour your surface, and then we're going to roll this out to about ½ centimeter thick. I'm then going to gently transfer that into my tart tin and then press it down, easing it into all of the nooks and crannies. Now when you're making pastry, it's important to blind bake it first. That makes sure you get a very nice crisp pastry and no soggy bottom. So to make sure it doesn't rise during this first bake, I'm going to pierce the bottom with a fork, and then I'm going to take myself some baking paper, scrunch it up, and then pop it into the tin, working it into all of the nooks and crannies. Fill this up with some baking beans, and then it's into the oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. You'll now notice that the pastry has started to set, so I'm going to take out those baking beans, and this is the opportunity where you can trim off any of the edges as they won't shrink back anymore. Then it's back into the oven for another 10 minutes. So while the pastry is in the oven cooking, we're going to move on to making the fillings for our grape tart. And as I mentioned at the start, these are going to be maple and cinnamon roasted. So we're going to coat them, put them in the oven, and then it's going to caramelize and bring out all of those juices. Then we're going to also make a diplomat cream. If you haven't heard of that before, it's based on the French creme patisserie, which goes in loads of choux pastries and tarts. Kind of like a thick custard. We're going to lighten that up with some whipped cream. That's what makes it a diplomat cream. So it's going to go into our tart. It's going to be a bit more airy, but you still get all of that grape flavour. Then we'll just finish it off with a few more of our grapes and a little bit of lightning bolt decoration, and it's good to go. It's really easy to prepare your grapes. All you want to do is wash them and then pat them dry, and then I'm going to cut them in half, going along the shortest width so they're as tall as possible. Onto my baking tray, I'm then going to drizzle over my maple syrup and my cinnamon, and then add the grapes over that. Then these need to go into the oven at 140 degrees Celsius or 280 Fahrenheit until they have gone lovely and golden. It should take around 15 to 20 minutes. While the grapes are roasting, you can also move on to making your creme patisserie. For this, you want to pour your milk into a pan and bring that up to the boil. While the milk is warming, you want to separate 2 of your eggs, as we're only going to use 2 egg yolks and then 1 full egg. In a separate bowl, add in your sugar, corn flour, egg yolks, egg, and vanilla, and then whisk into a smooth paste. Keep on whisking until the mixture gets light and foamy. When the milk is hot, you then want to slowly drizzle that into your egg mixture, continuously whisking it, otherwise you'll end up with scrambled egg. Once all your milk is incorporated, transfer it back to the pan, and then we're going to heat that for about 2 to 3 minutes until it's lovely and thick. Transfer into a bowl, and then I'm going to place some cling film over the top, touching the surface so a skin doesn't form as it cools. Okay, so our grapes are now lovely and roasted. Our creme patisserie has cooled down, so we can move on to the last few steps. I'm going to take half of the grapes and make a really quick jam, which we're going to use to give a bit of a fruity element at the bottom of our tart. Then I'm going to whisk up some cream and use that to make our diplomat cream, which is going to be double cream and our creme patisserie. And then we'll use the last of our grapes to do some decoration on top. And it's my Harry Potter kitchen, so you know we're going to sneak some lightning bolts in there. This is how you can finish your tarts. For the grape jam, place a saucepan on a medium heat and add in half of your grapes along with your sugar, and then bring that up to the boil. Once the sugar has fully dissolved and is bubbling away, you can turn off the heat, and we're going to transfer this into a food processor and blend it up quickly into a puree. I'm then going to spread this onto the bottom of my tart tin and use an offset spatula to level it off. For the diplomat cream, place your whipping cream into your bowl and whisk that until it forms stiff peaks. I'm then going to take half of the whipping cream and add it into the creme patisserie, gently folding it in, trying not to knock out too much air as we lighten it up, and then you want to add in the second half of your cream, again folding that using the figure of 8. Once that's nice and evenly combined, you don't want to overwork it, so I find it's easiest to place into a piping bag, and then I'm going to evenly distribute that around the tart. Again, you can use your offset spatula to level it off. And then for the last piece of decoration, I'm going to use some of the caramelized grapes to design a lightning bolt on top. I'm going to use the red grapes to make my lightning bolt in the middle, and then fill all the remaining space with the white grapes. Place the grape tart into the fridge for at least 1 hour before serving, so the diplomat cream has a chance to firm up. And we're done. If Harry wasn't feeling better already, when he sees this grape tart, he certainly will be. So there you have it, a feel-good grape tart. So those grapes are beautifully roasted with the maple syrup and cinnamon, so you get this sweet and sharp fruity layer, and then you hit the diplomat cream, which is super addictive. I definitely recommend you give this one a go, and let me know down below in the comments what you think. That is all for this week's recipe, but if you want to see more from my Harry Potter kitchen, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell. Then you'll get an alert every Magic Monday when there is a brand new recipe. I cannot wait to dig into this tart, so I'll see you next week. Get well soon, Harry. That's gorgeous. Oh yeah.